Welcome back. Today I'm on my biggest foil adventure yet, out in the deep blue waters of New Jersey. I headed up to the north end of the state, just past the Elbow, where the south wind has a nice side shore flow. We plan to start our run in Island Beach State Park and head 40 miles north to Sandy Hook. I was meeting the crew at the Hook, and I was pumped to see the wind already up. There were some nice wind bumps, but we also had a decent-sized east groundswell filling in. The start of the run was a long ways away around the bend. A quick foil nerd meeting, and we were off. Big thanks to Jay for the committed shuttle services. We made it to the road's end, and our journey was about to begin. First thing we saw from the top of the dunes was a thumping closeout on the sandbar. I was scared.
Look at that one!
Steve and Isaac walked down the beach. I just paddled straight out. Put the paddle down the back of my jacket and tucked the blade in my shorts, giving me two hands to paddle hard. I got super lucky with a post-set rip and slipped right out. Those guys took a couple solid ones on the head, but we all made it out unscathed. First paddle-ups were hard. I think the large jetty and outside shoals of Barnegat Inlet were blocking the chops, and the pounding waves were pushing some crazy rips out. So there was no real order in the lineup. It took me a solid 20 minutes to pop up, so I was way behind the crew and feeling really frantic. Now that I was up, my first goal was to head out to sea into some deeper water. And just when I started to get a rhythm, I was down again. I didn't pull the camera out for a good 30 minutes, but I was starting to feel confident again, so it was time to document. 6 miles in and a mile offshore, boy was I stoked to see Steve. I wish I could have stopped and started together, but we had a long run ahead and my paddle-ups are notoriously inconsistent, so I decided to keep moving. This is the longest stretch of straight coastline that New Jersey has to offer, and it's been on our downwind goal list ever since Ed pioneered this run 2 summers ago, when he was preparing for the Hawaiian island crossings. I'm riding the Unifoil Evolution 155 with the short fuse and the 14.5 Afterburner tail with the 0.5 positive shim. I didn't know it, but Steve was hot on my heels. I'm always stoked to find an opportunity to lay down some turns. It wasn't long before Steve was flying by me. He was really pushing the pace on his Code 860R. I used to be a cyclist who rode long miles on the weekend, and I knew from experience that once you start doing an activity over an hour, I definitely need to eat and drink to prevent cramping. Looks like I ran into an uphill that I couldn't see right here, but I didn't want to take the blame, so I had to check the foil for some seaweed. Nope, none there. All user error. I've been out on the water for about an hour and a half, so this was a good time to get a snack. Started with a Cliff Bar and a Capri Sun. The paddle ups were much easier out here. This was the start of my longest continuous time on foil. From here, I stayed up for 45 minutes over 9 miles. "20 miles in and I'm almost to Manasquan Inlet, the halfway point of our run. I was feeling good and flying high until bam! Full surprise body slam. Definitely my hardest fall of the run. Now I was finally out far enough where I didn't have to cut right so much, and I was able to head straight downwind and lay down some carbs. Even a mile and a half offshore, I could feel the effects of the inlet. Felt like riding through a rip current when prone foiling. I hadn't seen anyone in a long time, so I pulled out the phone to check the location, and to my surprise, we were all within a mile of each other. It's been over an hour since my last snack, so I ate an applesauce and a Cliff Bar. The 20 to 30 mile section was a challenge. I could feel the effects of the 2 inlets, and I was starting to feel the fatigue both mentally and physically. 3.5 hours in, so I had a juice and an applesauce. Just off Asbury Park, and here comes Steve, flying by.
Yeah!
The sun was definitely on its way down, and we had over 10 miles to go. So from here on out, we were pushing it. The water was real mixed up out here for some reason, so a tired man paddle up was a challenge. As I approached Monmouth Beach, 37 miles in, the sun really started to set, so I started to work my way in toward shore. Once I got into shallow water, there turned out to be perfect shore runner conditions, so I kept pushing, and I made it to the Sandy Hook entrance just before it fully went dark. "5 hours is a long time in the water, and it felt great to have my feet back on solid ground. We all came up a little short of our planned run, but thankfully Jay was able to scoop us up and take us back to our cars. Stoked to check that one off the bucket list, but I'm not sure I'll be going that far again anytime soon. Thanks for watching. See you next time.